we will try to work with our supervisors to send out the videos if possible. Okay. Um, and I also have one question in the chat as well, which is, will we recommend topic today? We won't do that, but we will help you to find your own topic. Okay. Um, so anyone, so Mia, what were the steps that you took when you were writing a paper back in high school or any previous education?
Well, back in high schools, most of the time when I have the writing assignments, it's usually during an exam where there's like a certain time limit.
Mhm.
So usually what I would do is just, first thing I would do is obviously look at the guidelines, breaking down what I have to do. And then if I have some spare minutes, I would start jotting down some notes of like the bullet points, basically the main ideas that I want to cover in my answers or response. And then I would have to start writing the
Yeah.
entire right away.
Yeah.
So yeah, because most of the time it's like an exam, I don't really have time for writing outlines, drafts.
Yeah. So yeah, great answer. So I think I have one answer in the chat as well. So the first step that the person would do is to plan. Yeah, the more you plan, the more organized you will be when you start writing your paper. Okay, that's a really good. That's really good. So let me jump right to the next question. So did brainstorming play an important role in your writing process? Anyone? So when you were writing something in high school or any educational level, did brainstorming play a part in that writing process? Did you brainstorm, or like where did you get the ideas? Anyone want to share?
Well, for me, brainstorming, obviously you do have to do like certain thinking before you,
Mm,
when you are doing the writing assignments. And most of the time, my writing assignments in high school were based on what we have learned already.
mhm.
But my teacher would most of the time expect us to bring something, some original ideas coming from us into our writing assignments instead of just responding with what we have learned in
Yeah,
class. So usually I will have to do some brainstorming whenever I want to include an
yeah,
original idea in my writing.
yeah.
So it's pretty important because the
Mm,
more original ideas that I can bring in, the better results that I would get from my writing
yeah.
most of the time.
Yeah, so you have a really good point there. And I think, and someone just sent in the chat to me that, so in the planning process, that's where brainstorming come in and where you sort of come up with the topic for that particular, for a particular writing, right? Um, and yeah, someone just told me that it helps the person come up with rough idea and the unique stuffs which add more character to the writing. So yeah, those
Yeah,
are really
exactly.
good. Yeah, so those are really good answer. Like Mia said, the original ideas, those are the things that are really important. Great. Okay, then let's get right down to it, shall we? So just before we start, we thought that it'd be fun to have you guys play something. So these are the 6 steps of writing that we think that cannot be missed. And here they are, but they're in sort of a mixed up order, and we need you guys to um, come up with the right order to fix this. So, what do you guys think would be the first step in the writing process?
Yeah, you guys can either speak up or
Yeah, or
type
type
in
in the
the chat
chat.
whatever
Yeah.
your answer is.
So what you guys think would be the order, the first step and the second step?
Topic selection.
Okay.
Basically,
Okay.
brainstorming first.
Brainstorming first,
Yeah,
brainstorming.
yeah,
Someone said
several
topic
people.
selection. Okay.
Mhm.
So brainstorming is taking the lead over topic selection. So yeah, you're completely correct. So brainstorming would be the first step that we would normally do. So after brainstorming, we would come to topic selection, right? And that's the second step. So what's the third step and the fourth step?
Oh, I see someone said outline and thesis statement as the third and the fourth step.
Okay, so brainstorming, topic selection, outline, thesis statement. Okay, so outline and thesis statement as the third and fourth step. Okay, okay, but someone rebutted that with thesis statement as the third step and outline as the fourth
Ooh,
step. Okay, so we have a debate going on here. So what do you guys think? Should outline be first or should thesis statement be first? So apparently the fifth and the sixth step are
pretty clear.
yeah,
Yeah,
pretty
it's
clear.
a draft,
Draft one, two, and
final
the final draft, right? And our answer to that question would be the third step would be thesis statement, and then the fourth step would be outlining, right? Okay. Um, so yeah, whoever got the thesis statement as the third step, you got it correctly. So we'll get right down to brainstorming now. Um, yeah. So let's just start off with a fresh definition. What is brainstorming? So brainstorming is a technique used to find conclusions for a specific problem by gathering a list of ideas. So basically, you are generating new ideas on your own, right? It's the process of generating new ideas. It's brainstorming. And there are many ways that you can brainstorm. You can find keywords, phrases, connections, and arguments, or sort of you can have a common thread that pulls your ideas together. Yeah. And we'll get to those steps very detailed in the next few slides. So, um, yeah. And at this stage, not I would recommend you guys not to worry much about how organized your ideas are at this stage. As long as you have some ideas flowing out, that's a great thing. So don't worry about how organized your ideas are at this stage. All right. Um, so, like I said, there are various ways that you can do brainstorming. You can do it with a friend. You can do it on your own, or like this guy, you can do it when you're in your shower. Um, so, um, Mia, how do you usually brainstorm, alone or with a friend?
Well, it depends on what kind of assignment that I'm working on. Most of the time, when I'm doing an individual assignment, I would usually brainstorm on my own. But
Mm-hmm.
every now and then, when I have like a group projects or group assignments, most of the time I spent brainstorming would be with my
Okay.
group mates.
Okay. Yeah. So what Mia just said. Um, So, so here are the some disadvantages and advantages of individual versus group brainstorm, which basically, um, it's when you brainstorm on your own individually, you produce a wider range of ideas, but these ideas they're less developed. But when you brainstorm in a group, you may produce less ideas, but these ideas they are sort of developed more deeply and effectively. So on one side, you would have sort of quantity over quality, that's individual brainstorming, and on the other side, you would have quality over quantity, right? So there are definitely some perks. Um, and in terms of the different types of brainstorming, if you're a visual learner, I think that mind maps would be a great choice for you, to be honest, because um, a mind map is basically a diagram of ideas. You write down the main ideas and then you connect it with the main branch. So imagine that you have a tree, right? The body of the tree will be your big idea, and then you would have the smaller branches of the tree as your supporting ideas, right? And yeah, um, when you mind map, you can definitely see clearer the relationships between the variables with of your ideas. But that's work for visual learners, more suitable for visual learners, I would say. Um, another So there are two types of mind map: normal mind mapping and reverse mind mapping, right? So normal mind mapping, you would have some really big ideas, and then you would develop the big idea into smaller ideas, right? You will have the big tree, and then you have the smaller branches. When you want to produce new ideas, right? But reverse mind mapping, it's the other way around. So it's when you have too many ideas, but you don't have any big idea, you will try to find that common thread that pulls them together, right? You have the branches, but you don't have the big body of the tree, right? And then you need the big body. You use reverse mind mapping. Um, and then we will have listing. Okay, so listing is basically, it's sort of a form of free write. So you jot down all possible ideas or examples that come to your mind, right? And then you would put them into the correct categories, and then from there you would have your ideas, right? For example, you have the topic advertising in Japan, right? And you write down as many as keywords as you can that's related to advertising in Japan, and then you would put these keywords into their corresponding categories, right? So like if you take a look, we have 4 categories here: kinds of ads, content of ads, locations, and promises. So yeah, that's one thing about listing that you can try out when you're brainstorming, right? Um, Another thing would be free writing and free speaking. So it's really helpful if you let your ideas out, and either through writing or talking to a friend. And then afterwards, you find the key concept or the common thread. So um, and that's where Paul really come in. That's where Mia and I and other Paws can help you with. You can talk with us, and we can help you to find that common thread, that big ideas from what you're telling us, right? So Mia, have you come across any students coming in like free speaking about their ideas?
Oh yeah, I've had like a lot of students, especially at the beginning of semesters when the students are starting to have like their first writing assignments, and they're kind of having troubles with choosing their topics, or maybe brainstorming,
Mhm.
or maybe they already have their topic but they don't really know where to go from there. So
Yeah,
what they do is that they just came to us, and then we asked them, okay, so what do you want to do, and what do you think of this, what do you think of that, and we try to ask questions and then have you guys do the brainstorming.
yeah,
Sometimes the problem with new students is that they might not know what questions to ask. So what we do is that we try to find the right questions to ask you,
yeah.
and then urge you to come up with the ideas.
Yeah. So like it's really beneficial for you to have sort of a new set of eyes, like a different perspective. So that helps you find the right direction, right? And that's what we can offer. Um, and the fourth one would be graphic organizer. So you would find a graphic organizer that matches the specific rhetorical strategy. So rhetorical strategy is actually a really big word for the type of essay or the type of paper that you're writing. It's basically problem solution, comparative essay, and things like that. So um, and I think um, and I think that if you go onto Google, there will be tons of graphic organizers for you to use, and you will most likely see this for class assignment where your teachers will give handouts for you to develop your ideas, and it's a really effective way to organize your ideas, to brainstorm. Yeah. So this one, the last one, is the one about brainstorming that I like the most. That's the most effective for me. It's Questorming. So you ask yourself a lot of questions, right? Um, those questions will help you to pull out the ideas that are important for for your paper. So who, what, where, when, why, how. Those are really those questions seem really simple, but I think they can help you brainstorm a lot, right? Um, what is the problem, and where does it take place? When did it happen, right? Right, and why, how? And by answering these questions, you will start to get an idea of what you want to write about, okay? And the next part, topic selection, will be presented by Mia.
Okay, thank you. All right, so after you guys have done some initial brainstorming, the next step in the overall writing process would be choosing your topic. So the problem here is, how do you usually decide on a topic? And what do you think, what criteria would you use to decide whether or not a topic is good for an academic paper? So any ideas in chat? What do you guys think make a good topic?
Yeah, any ideas? What you think is a good topic? Anyone? Any like specific criteria that you think that this topic is better than others? Okay, so I have one in the chat that says if it's recent news or case,
Mhm.
that's a good topic. Okay, that's an idea, but that is sort of a two-bladed sword, right? Right, Mia? Do you think that?
Yeah.
Yeah, double-bladed sword. And okay, another idea that it's something unique but it's relevant. Okay, unique
Mhm.
but relevant. Okay, that's a good top. That makes a good topic. Any other ideas? Think about the scale of the topic also, right?
Yeah, and also think of the assignment that you were given. Remember that we are mostly referring to writing an academic paper. So what do you think makes a good topic for an academic paper?
Hmm. Okay. One idea that says if it's specific and straight to the point. Okay. Yeah,
Mhm.
you hit the right keyword, specific, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Um.
Someone said relevancy.
Yeah, relevancy.
Relevance.
Yeah, educational. Yeah, that can be one aspect that makes topic good also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we obviously see that there are several criteria that would contribute to a good topic in for an academic paper. So for this section of our presentation, we will focus on discovering what makes a good topic and how to choose a good topic for your writing assignment. So the first step that you want to do is to understand what assignments that you were given. So first step is to identify the rhetorical strategy, or, well, to put it simply, identify what type of paper that you will be writing. And usually in AC1, the type of rhetorical strategy will be pretty straightforward. You will be asked to write an either like cause effect paper, problem solution essay, comparison, or argumentative. But then in other classes, as you move on to AC2 and major classes, sometimes the rhetorical strategy is not clearly stated in the guidelines. Rather, the professors, the instructors will give you the freedom to choose your own rhetorical strategy to deliver your paper. But for now, for most of you in AC1, I would say that this step is pretty straightforward for you in terms of identifying the rhetorical strategy. But then the next step in understanding the assignment is that based on the rhetorical strategy of your guidelines, what exactly should your the focus of your paper be? And in order to answer this, what we would recommend to you quite often is to carefully read the guidelines from your instructor, your teacher. Usually your teacher will have like some certain guideline instructions for how you would want to approach the essay, what you are expected to include. And if they don't have that, feel free to ask for them. And if still you are unclear about that, then you can obviously come to us and we will help you to break down the assignments and then help you to choose the perfect topic from there.
Yeah.
And obviously, depending on the type of rhetorical strategy, the type of essay paper, your topic, and eventually your essay will have to take a specific form.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so the next step after you have broke down the assignments, you have a basic idea of what you would want to do. The second step would be identify the content area of focus. So at this stage, some of the questions you can ask yourself is, should the topic be related to your major or what you have studied in class? So for some students who major in DBI like me, I could think of some topics related to technology like artificial intelligence, machine learning. Those are some of the topics that is related to my major and what I have kind of studied, outside of class, and maybe I want to write an essay about it. So that's where I can keep brainstorming for a topic from there. And then now after this, you would want to identify a more specific focus area. And this is where your interest and your passion for the assignment comes in. As students, from our own experience, I would say that we really encourage you guys to try to find a topic that is not only related to your major, not only is suitable for an academic paper in terms of tone, but try and find a topic that really interests you. Try to find a topics that makes you want to do research on, study more on, because that's going to be pretty important in maintaining your motivation throughout the entire time that you spend on writing that paper. And just like what being said earlier about Questorming, at this point, you can also ask yourself a bunch of who, what, when, where, WH questions in general to try to narrow down the scope of your topic from there. So these are basically the four steps to choosing the right topic for you. But obviously, I think that for some of you, this might be a little bit abstract. So let's take another approach to finding the topic, is to kind of knowing what topics that you probably would want to avoid. So some certain topics that you would want to avoid is that the ones that you have used in AC1, ART, AC2, or used by other students. Oh, well, for this, you can probably ask your teacher for help. You would also want to avoid topics that are very recent and wildly uncertain. So we have an example here, a topic on the impact of the coronavirus on the European economy. Now, this probably would be a great topic if you're writing a newspaper article as an economist. But remember that we are writing an academic paper. And for an academic paper, this topic could be a little bit risky to go with, because as we know, the pandemic is still happening and there are still a lot of uncertainties. We don't know what exactly will the effects of this pandemic be on the economy. So perhaps maybe a couple of years from now, this would be a topic that you can go for your academic paper. But for now, it's a little bit uncertain and risky to go with this topic. And from that, we also would want to avoid topics that cannot be supported with evidence from scholarly sources. So something like the relationship between the zodiac signs and the increase of divorce rates in Gen Z. Again, could be an interesting topic if you're writing a blog or for an entertainment magazine, but for an academic paper, you would have to be able to find some academic support or evidence if you are going to go with this. And it could be a little bit difficult to go with that here. Okay, so we've covered steps to choose the topic for your essay and knowing what topics to avoid. Some other things that we want you guys to keep in mind when you're choosing a topic is, like I mentioned earlier, personal interest is pretty important, because you would want to write a paper that actually interests you, to keep yourself motivated. And I'm saying this is because for most of you right now, you are in AC1, and the time that you spend on writing, an essay is probably 2 to 3 weeks. So it's pretty short. But when you move on to AC2, you would find yourself spending an entire semester on one single paper. So at that point, you would find yourself choosing one topic, and then you will have to stick with it for the rest of the semester, which is like 3.5 months. So we really recommend you guys to choose a topic that is relevant to your personal interest, that you can, relate to, and something that keep you interested when you're doing it. So from my own personal experience back in AC2, we were asked to write a paper on a topic that is related to our major, obviously, and it should be academic. Also, the professor didn't really mention anything about personal interest, but she was encouraging us to do so. And so what I did was that since my major was DBI, I went with a certain topic about data analytics. And I combined it with my own personal interest in esports, because I play video games. So I think, well, why not? So I ended up with a topic for my AC2 research paper, which was the role of data analytics in the esports industry. So it was a pretty interesting paper to write on. And I was able to stay motivated for most of the semester writing that paper, because my topic was something that I found personal interest in. So that's what I recommend you guys to do. Be sure that you want to write your paper on that topic. On the other hand, though, be careful of your personal biases that may affect your objectivity. So sometimes your topic is something that is very relatable to you, like something about your own home country that has to do with your culture or your background. If that's the case, then try to double check your personal biases. Do you have any certain strong feelings or opinions about it that may or may not make your paper unobjective? And in addition to personal interest, you will also want to be careful of topics that you are unsure about. So are you going to be able to research on a topic that you are entirely unfamiliar with? Like for some writing assignments, you were probably given like a longer time, maybe a month to complete your paper. But for some other assignments, you probably only have a week or maybe 2 weeks to spend on it. So are you going to be able to spend that 1 week or 2 weeks reading up on, a topic that you have never heard of, have never studied about, and write an academic paper out of it? If you are unsure about it, then our advice is to probably avoid those and stick with the topics that you are more familiar with. And lastly, but definitely very important here, is the scope of your topic. Depending on the page limit and how long your paper should be, you should try to keep your paper scope to be, just enough to be explored within, the page limit. It shouldn't be too narrow and it shouldn't be too broad. Okay. So again, like what I've said earlier, what you can do in topic selection is to do brainstorming by asking yourself a bunch of questions. And start from the more general questions like, what is the basic problem? What controversy is involved? And then once you have answered that, you can ask yourself some more specific questions to identify the where and the when, basically the context of that topic. So something like, where is the issue taking place? When did it take place? When is action needed to address it? So yeah, there are a bunch of questions that you can ask here. And let's take a look at an example. So for this, we initially identify the basic problem that we want to write about, which is the role of social media. However, at this point, this topic is a bit too broad. And when we're talking about social media, we're talking about something that is very pervasive, very ubiquitous. We see it everywhere in the world right now. So probably it's better if we narrow down the scope of it to perhaps one country. So this is where we ask, in which country are you looking at the role of social media? And so the answer here is we want to look at a certain country, Tunisia. So we have the role of social media in Tunisia. But then again, aside from the geographical context, we also want to look at the time context. So if we were to look at the role of social media in Tunisia from the beginning of it up until now, it might still be a little bit too broad. So we want to focus on a certain period, which is during the Arab Spring. And at this point, our topic is the role of social media in Tunisia during the Arab Spring. So we end up here with a topic that is specific, and the scope of this is not too broad and not too narrow, and it is something that we can discuss about within, an academic paper. Okay, so since I've done a lot of talking, let's have another activity here. So we would like you guys to discuss whether or not the topics given are good or bad topics. Why do you guys think so? And if they're not a good topic, then what do you guys think could be improved? Okay, so the first one, manga use pictures and dialogue to tell stories. Do you guys think this is a good topic or not a good topic? So anyone?
Okay, so yeah, we have a lot of answers that says this is not a good topic.
Okay, yeah.
It's not academic. Yeah, not a good topic.
Okay. So can you guys think of any reasons why? Okay. So it's not, it's okay. So it's not a very good topic here because, well, someone actually said it's not academic. Well, yeah, that. But the more importantly here is that this topic is merely just a statement that is based on facts. So there's nothing really controversial or arguable about this topic. So it's not a very good topic if it's just purely facts. And we do want you guys to keep in mind that when you're choosing a topic for an academic paper, make sure that it is a topic that you can support with evidence and not just facts. And it should be something that allows you to introduce your original ideas and analysis. So yeah, that's what we meant by, being arguable or controversial. So, okay. All right, let's move on to the next one. The recent economic effects of the Industrial Revolution in America. Do you guys think this is a good topic or not?
Okay. We have people saying good topic. Yeah, good topic. Good. Okay.
So why do you guys think this is a good topic? And remember that there are many criterias that can contribute to a good topic. So if you guys have any ideas why this is a good topic, feel free to shout it out in the chat or speak.
Okay. Not too broad and relevant. Okay, yeah, I agree.
The word recent confuses me because data is limited on recent topic. Okay. So Ming, what do you think of this topic?
I think this is a fairly good topic, to be honest, because it's definitely arguable. You can see the economic effects. We can argue for the different effects, right, of the Industrial Revolution. That's a specific time, right? And we have a specific place also. It's in America, right? But yeah.
So I think for someone did mention like the word recent confuses them. I do agree with this as well. And I think that this, in overall, this could be a good enough topic, even though it could be a little bit more specific, like recent. What do you mean by recent? So could it be like within the current 5 years or within the current 10 years? So something like that would probably be more specific. But overall, we think that this is a fairly good enough topic that you can use in an academic paper. And yes, it's a clear topic. It is expandable as well. Okay, so let's move on to the third one. The effects of hay fever around the world. So any thoughts?
Too broad. Okay.
Someone said too broad. Okay. That topic. Okay. All right. So too broad. For those of you who said the
Yeah, for those of you who says it's not good, it's not clear, yeah, you're definitely correct because around the world, that's a really big
it's a
scale, right?
really wide scope,
Yeah.
and it could also be more specific, like the effects of hay fever on public health around the world, something like that. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, this is a too broad topic, and you can narrow it down to a country or a region, and yeah, obviously it's a little bit big as well. The fourth one, how to solve the 2030 toilet paper extinction. Well,
What do you guys think about this topic?
yeah, someone said bad. Yeah, bad.
Bad, not good. Okay, bad. So
Yeah.
why do you think this is a bad topic? Okay, someone said because it's boring. Okay. Any other reasons that you might think this one is
Okay,
not
so
not that
someone said
relatable? Yeah.
questionable, not that relatable.
Relatable,
So
yeah.
yeah, this topic is purely based on the assumption that there will be a toilet paper extinction in 2030. But the fact is, we are now in 2021, and we don't know what's going to happen in the next 9 years. So
Yeah.
probably this is not a very good topic for an academic paper. It's it's too vague, and will you even have enough data, well, scholarly, academic evidence to support this topic? And again, it's pretty uncertain whether or not there will actually be a toilet paper extinction in 2030.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And the fifth one, and the last one here, the history of mochi in Japan. And someone said good one.
Good one. Okay. Good.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Any other ideas?
Any other ideas? Yeah.
Okay, for those of you who said this is a good topic, what makes you think this is a good topic? Sounds intriguing, interesting. Yeah, I do think that personally, I do think this is an interesting topic and specific.
Okay.
Someone said not academic enough,
Okay,
has
and
enough
someone
data to research on.
yeah, and someone also said not
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see.
So there's a lot of opposite ideas on this. So this topic is actually not a very good topic for an academic paper. So remember what we said earlier about the first topic being not very arguable and based on facts mostly. So the same goes with the history of mochi in Japan here. It's mostly based on facts. And what we are concerned here is that what arguments are you going to make out of the history of mochi in Japan? What original ideas are you going to bring to the table if you're going to talk about the history of mochi in Japan? So again, if you're going with this topic, your paper is mostly just going to be very descriptive, and it's not arguable, not persuasive, not controversial. It's based on facts. So again, if I were to improve on these topics, maybe I would add something like the history of mochi in Japan and its impacts on Japanese cuisine, and more, or something like its impacts on perhaps tourism, something like that would probably make the paper more arguable and persuasive. And that way you would have some original ideas to bring into your paper instead of just talking about the history of mochi in Japan.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone said I cannot engage people to read an entire essay on mochi and not academic as well. Yeah, that's exactly why we emphasize on, a topic should be arguable, because you need something to engage people in. And in that case, that's your original ideas and analysis, right? Okay, so probably the last thing what we're going to cover in the topic selection here is that the differences between topic selection in AC1, AC2, and ART. I'm guessing that most of you guys here are in AC1, but since you guys will probably take AC2 and other major courses in the future, we figure it would be good if we go over some of the differences in topic selection of these classes. So in AC1, your topic can be based on personal experience and knowledge. It doesn't really have to be too academic because, at this point in AC1, mostly what you are learning is just how to write an academic paper. What are the steps that you need to go through in writing an essay? What are the different rhetorical strategies out there that you want to learn? So basically, it's just learning how to write. So your topic at this point is, is more flexible, and you can have more room to go with narrow topics because the papers that you're writing is going to be pretty short, just a few essays. Yeah, and you can also choose less academic topics as well. It's completely fine. However, in AC2, you will be asked to choose your own topic for your research paper. And at this point, your topic should be in a specific context, and it should, and the scope of it should be not too narrow, not too broad, and researchable, because you're going to be writing a longer research paper. So you want to choose the topic, your topic very carefully, and specify it within an appropriate scope. And it must be related to your major, and obviously it should have a more academic tone. And for ART, it's something a little bit in between AC1 and AC2. Okay, so I think that's it for brainstorming and topic selection. Obviously, when you're writing a paper, you're going to have to go through more steps other than just brainstorming and topic selection. So in those later steps, in any steps of your writing processes that you are having trouble with, you can come to us for help. And we will be starting our advising session on the 21st this month. And you can book a maximum of 2 sessions with each PAW in a day. So each session is 20 minutes long, so you can book up to 4 minutes with each of us in a day. Other than visiting us and the academic advisor, you can also check out our website where you would find a lot of academic writing tips, helps with citations, and many other resources created by us, the projects, to help you with your writing. So yeah.
And actually, next week we will have a Q&A workshop. So if you have any questions about researching or writing, you can come to the Q&A workshop, and it's gonna be the same ID, right? The same ID and the same password to this workshop. It's gonna be on Wednesday. So a lot of you will be taking your day off during that time. So it's from 12 to 1 Japan Standard Time. Okay. Yeah, and that's it for today. Now we will yield the remaining time for Q&A. And while we're doing that, we would like you to scan the QR code that will lead you to the attendance form. So just go and scan the QR code, go into the attendance form, fill in your names so that we can get your attendance, right? And in the meantime, me and I will answer some questions that you will be asking or you have asked. And actually, Mia, I have one question already sent to me, and I think you can answer this question. The person asked, when you say academic tone, what kind of vocabulary will boost up your paper?
Well, I think I've got these questions quite a lot as well. Some students, when they think of, academic tone in an academic paper, a lot of the time they would focus on, the vocabulary. They're asking, okay, should I be using this word? Is this formal enough? And I say that to a certain degree, using formal words certainly help. However, I do want to note that it's not always, you don't always have to try and find the most academic, the most formal words out there to put in your academic paper. Because the most important thing when you're writing a paper is to deliver your arguments, to deliver your opinion. And so the ultimate goal here is to make the readers understand you and convince your reader. So it's not necessarily about trying to sound academic. It's more like getting yourself understood. So if you feel like using certain academic words might be confusing to your readers, or sometimes even you yourself don't know exactly the meaning of the words that you want to use, then probably what I would recommend is to stick with the more common phrases that you know for sure that your readers will understand, that you know for sure that you understand the exact meaning of it. Because sometimes when you are trying to use a very formal words and you misuse it because sometimes the words has a certain connotations that is different from your intention, that can actually have like a negative effect, like it will backfire. So that's my advice for you. Obviously, for an academic paper, it should have like a formal tone. So using formal words, phrases helps. But ultimately, it's your ideas, your arguments that really matters. Okay?
Yeah.
So don't worry about it. And again, if you want to find ways to expand on your vocabulary, my advice would be, do a lot of readings, do a lot of readings on like academic papers. Sometimes the professors will like have some certain reference materials that's what you can read on, and that's where you would learn a lot of new vocabularies that you can end up using for your paper. Yeah. Okay, so do you guys have any other questions about AC1, AC2, any classes that you're taking,
Okay.
or just writing in general?
Okay, we have one question from a student currently studying AC2. So the student's professor asked to find articles for an essay, and are having a conversation between them. So the person's having a lot of trouble finding articles like that on Google Scholar. Any tips on finding articles that relates to one specific topic? Okay, so my first and foremost tip would be try not to make your searches too long. Not because you would need. I think that the less keywords you have, the more search that you'll be able to find. So like, don't type in sentences like the what will happen of this blah, 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 but instead have like, for example, effects of something, right? And then you will have more search coming into your way on Google Scholar. And I think that um, and I think that Google Scholar might not be your only resources, right? Because uh, uh, many times I find my sources on normal Google, like just normal Google, but they're from an academic journal, so that's acceptable as well. And I think our school does have a wealth of resources, right? From Taylor and Francis to something else, and I think you can check that on POTI, to be honest. Okay, yeah, Mia, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I also agree with Ming. Sometimes when you type in a whole long sentence into your search bar, you might not end up with what you want. So what I recommend is just try to identify the keywords of your topics, some key phrases, some keywords, and then use those keywords when you're searching instead of the whole entire sentence. And sometimes the article that you're looking for is kind of published in a journal that covers a much wider range of topics. So what you can do is that you can start looking for the journals, starting from like the wider scope of your actual topic, and then slowly narrow it down.
Yeah. And I think the next question is actually, I think it's for you, Mia. So the person has a topic in mind. It's about animation for advertising, and the major is DBI. But his or her professor said that this topic is not like a conversation taking place in DBI journals. So the person's not entirely sure what it means by DBI journals. So how do you recommend this person find these journals, like DBI journals?
Well, I mean, well, from my understanding, the DBI major covers the two main aspects. One of them is digital technologies, and the other one is pretty much business. And when we merge them together, we have digital business and obviously innovation. So what you can do is that with your topic of animations in marketing or
Advertising, in
oh,
advertising.
okay, advertising. So what you can do is that you can start by doing some research on advertising first, because it would cover a wider range, and by doing your research on advertising, maybe you come across certain articles that mentions the use of animations in advertising and what possible effects of it has on the effectiveness of the overall, marketing strategies, something like that. So I would probably would start from researching on, certain advertising marketing strategies, and then start to go into more specifics on animations there.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Mia's answer to your question. So any other question? We have around 5 to 6 minutes left, so we can definitely have 2 or 3 more questions before this session comes to an end. Um, Great, thank you. Thank you for coming. So if you
Thank you.
guys, don't have any questions left, so remember to scan the QR code to sort of punch in your attendance. And we appreciate you coming to this workshop today. Yeah, so we will hang around just for a couple of minutes more. So if you still have any questions lingering, you can definitely ask us. Yeah, if in another 1 or 2 minutes if there's no question, then we will close the session. So yeah, thank you all for coming.
Thank
Yeah,
you for coming.
great. Um, okay, so it seems like there's no no more questions. Um, so it seems like people are logging off. There's no more question. Then I think we are going to end this session, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay.
thank you guys so much for joining us today, and do keep an eye out for our upcoming
Yeah.
Q&A workshops
Yeah.
and future workshops that
Yeah.
we're planning to host this semester. And if you guys need any help with writing in the future, don't hesitate to sign up for an advising sessions with us and the academic advisors.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you
See.
guys.
See ya.
Thank you guys.
Goodbye.